Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel. If you are a new subscriber, thank you very much. If you've just stumbled across me by accident, I hope that you consider being a subscriber. And today is just going to be a quick video talking about what it is that I look forward or look for either in my own closet or when I'm thrifting for fabrics and textiles that I believe lend themselves nicely for junk journaling. So in a recent thrifting junket, I found this, and this is way too big for the screen, obviously, this quilted reversible jacket. And I guess maybe back in the day, these things would have been called car coats, you know, just above the knee. Anyway, the color, even though green is my favorite color, certainly the color lends itself to, the botanic journals that so many of us do. And with the pattern side, clearly there is enough other color here to pick up on and highlight and pull out. So rather than, waste your time watching me cut, I did separate one front, and I removed the stand-up collar and one sleeve. So you can see, where do I have a ruler? You can see very clearly that, this is probably 22 inches or so long. And at the, well, I guess at the narrowest point, it's 13. So, a person could run the, if we typically cut a journal cover for a normal sized journal, 12 inches wide, there's lots there. And of course, any of the cutoffs would lend themselves to making very cute, tiny little covers as well. Now, you would think, oh, and the other thing I wanted to point out is that, see, is it on both sides? Yes, on both sides there are patch pockets that have been attached. So I will very gingerly, well, no, maybe not. I was going to say I would very gingerly remove them, but if the layout of the cover is correct, a pocket might be able to stay and become part of the features on the cover. So, but the option exists, and certainly there are 4, 2 solid and 2 printed. Another thing, and maybe you can't see it, are these cute little buttons that were on one side or the other. There were 6, but one rolled away somewhere, so I still have to search for it. But I think these are so darn cute that they have to find their way either into, in as a closure or something. I just wanted to say that, with this, there's a piped edge. Maybe that's not right, but certainly there's a turned hem that encloses this. Now, the odds of any of these seams working out just perfectly for the size of a cover are, I would say, slim and none. So what I will end up doing, maybe we can tell on this sleeve, you can see the little bit of batting that's in between there. So I think to make life simpler, what I'll do is make sure that I get a raw edge like this on all 4 sides, and that way whatever person chooses to do, whether it's zigzagging or straight stitching or attaching a trim of some sort, is going to work out beautifully. And I think another reason, oh, I didn't realize there was a stain. I think another reason that this was such a good find is that these rows of stitching are so close together that it's very stable, and the odds of having the outside stitching on the cover catch some of the existing stitching is really good. So I think that is going to make for a really pleasant sewing experience. So I don't think I need to show you how to cut because clearly scissors are our life. But you can see here how the sleeve was set in. So I just chose, what did I choose? Oh, I chose to cut on the outside edge of the sleeve. So because this ends up on the sleeve. And again, it doesn't matter because, you know, there will be obviously some cutoffs here. I just wanted to say that I really thought this was a great find and I can't wait to get at it. I do have a few other things to show. And again, it's one of those deals where, you know, it's all about timing. This is an infinity scarf. Oh, by the way, all of these things have been laundered. Now, we know that infinity scarves, you know, end up having a lot of fabric to them. And if you can get it for $1 or whatever, then that's certainly cheaper than you're ever going to find as much yardage anywhere else. I'm not sure if you can see my hand through that, but clearly it is thin because nobody wants, you know, really, unless you live in northern Canada, nobody really wants too much bulk and too much, you know, you don't want to overheat wearing one of these infinity scarves. So because there are flowers, because there are butterflies, because there are birds, you know, how could I leave this behind? So what I envision here is opening this up on the seam, wherever that seam is, right here. And maybe we will find that this tears beautifully, or not. Let's give that a little extra help here. Oh, it's going crooked. Well, maybe not too bad. You know, again, it depends how true these things were laid out and sewn. If they're sort of not cut, if they weren't laid out properly, you could end up things going a bit cockeyed. So that's not too bad. And of course, it's, you know, there's that lovely messy frayed edge that we like so much. So I can very much see cutting this up into chunks and using them for fabric flips, or maybe turning it under, reinforcing the edge a bit, and sewing pockets onto pages. So that is going to be great. I just wanted to point out these scissors. I've had these scissors for, well, I think since I was a new bride, because, you know, if you were a woman practicing the womanly arts of sewing, you bought some Singer scissors. And, well, they're perfect. And I see that these are made in Brazil. I was so surprised. My husband wanted a pair for his own purposes. I was so surprised to find a pair at Walmart the other day. And that was, oh heck, why did I start the story? I can't remember where those were made. I can tell you it certainly wasn't Brazil. This is something else that I found on my recent craft, or my recent retreat to Canmore. There were 3 of these placemats, and you can see, or maybe I hope you can see, these sort of, well, they're not appliqué, they're just, I don't know, I guess just embroidered, machine embroidered around the edges. Oh, a bit of a snag there. Anyway, what I did just as an experiment yesterday was begin fussy cutting them out, trying not to get not getting close enough to cut the stitches, because then that would be a problem, but close enough so that they look like something. Now, I intended, but of course ran out of time before starting this video, I intend, oh, got a little too close there, but I think some, what do you call it, art glitter glue will probably stop that, or fray check or something will stop that in its tracks. Anyway, what I was saying is that I really wanted to try coffee or tea dyeing these. I don't expect that it's going to take dye very well, simply because it is 100% polyester. But I mean, even if it tones it down a bit, that will help. I didn't bring the other two placemats, but they're in varying, sort of the same color family, but either lighter or darker than this. So I can see these things being, again, slow stitched onto something, onto a card, onto a cover. I can see maybe salvaging, keeping some of this intact. Again, what have we got here? So that's roughly 12 inches or a little more. So, for that matter, a person could turn, so 9. Let's just fold this. Is that 9? Yeah, that's roughly 9. So the halfway mark is about 9 inches. So this could clearly become a cover in its own right. Obviously it too is fairly thin, so it would just be a surface layer. Or maybe a person cuts around this inner edge and leaves some of this intact, like let that be a corner decoration. So there are lots of possibilities there. I think before I go too much further with this, I will throw some of these in a cup of coffee and see what happens over time. So there's that. Sometimes a person finds aprons. So I was kind of intrigued by some of this, and you'll notice that these are all oddball shapes. I did try, because I didn't know what I was going to do with them, I made them bigger than necessary. But you can see the curved edges. That was because this apron, it wasn't just a straight flat piece of fabric that had been gathered at the corners, or I mean at the waist. It was I guess sewn in panels like so to make it flare out at the bottom. So anyway, I did the best I could, again, not knowing exactly what the final use would be. I did remove the 2 pockets as they existed. And again, ruler. So the top of that, like at its widest, it's 5 3/4. So clearly, for most books, a person would have to turn that in or trim it or whatever to make a narrower pocket. But, that would be really cute. And if that's grain, then certainly that would be nice in some of the farming and ag journals that I'm interested in doing as someone who lives on a farm. And I think this must have come from another apron. This is, oh no, maybe not. Same wheat. Again, you can see this maybe poorly located seam here and here. Oh, the stitching even went over the seam here. So I'll probably leave that intact. Again, once I know what I'm doing, I will either, cut in nice and close and satin stitch or machine stitch or whatever around it, slow stitch around it, whatever, glue it down to a cover, a tag, a pocket, and so on. I left this one, clearly this was a bib apron, and this was, the focal point right at the point of the V. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to leave that intact because I think that would be cute as well. So that's about 7 inches. So, again, maybe sewing it down to some cardstock or something would be really nice. And then, maybe embellishing a bit with buttons or something like that. Another thing I have here, I'm almost done, I think, is this was a linen of some kind of, I don't know, a dress or scarf or something, or kind of an odd shaped thing, almost like a cross. anyway, these four sections. So basically what I did was, again, try to, square it off, tear it, and hopefully we'll be able, excuse me, we'll be able to keep this finished edge intact. Again, I don't know if wrapped around the front of a journal, or I'm not sure. But I guess the point of what I'm trying to say here is that if we see some of these things and the price is right, it doesn't hurt to grab the item. You may not have a clear project in mind, or a crystal clear idea about what you intend to do with it. But if you get it home, you wash it, you iron it, you then maybe wait a little while till you get your nerve up, and then you cut into it. So I'm far more likely to use this in this condition than I would have if I would have kept that thing, somewhere, hoping that I don't have to iron it over and over again because it keeps getting creased because I'm handling it so much and not actually using it. So again, none of this stuff is heirloom worthy. It exists out there and would have been discarded, or has been discarded by someone. So it just seems like, use it. And then finally, I'll just show you with some other, I made little clusters or fabric flips with some. I think this rosebud, you can see. This rosebud thing might have been, I don't know, it might have been part of an apron too. So you can see a couple of different options. I guess white wasn't the greatest color to use here today. A little bit of lace, a button, and a matching button. Here, a sheer overlay of some sort. I can't remember what this was exactly. A little bit of, just cotton, and a couple of rosebuds. This, here's another version. Same green sheer with a bit of a design on it. A little teeny bit of cotton there. A bigger piece of the rosebud fabric, and then this rather sheer light green, I don't know even what that would be. I guess a cotton again, quite a sheer and thin one. Now, I also at some point last year bought a dress that had this as an overlay, and obviously machine stitched, probably not the greatest craftsmanship in the world. Maybe some of that disposable fashion that is so popular these days. But it frays nicely. I put it against some navy sheer, added a button, added a piece of lace, and I think it looks kind of cool. Same fabric, different application. So with this kind of piece of a ticking, or I don't know, maybe it was a pillowcase or something, a little bit of fabric, and again, you can tell I didn't iron that, and I don't mind because it kind of adds some texture and some color. Threw it on there with a couple of buttons that pick up some of the colors in the embroidery, and it's ready to go in my drawer. And finally, I'll just show you a couple more. I managed to score a few pieces of this really vibrant embroidery. And again, it is probably machine made because it's that neat. A little bit of staining there. This one I just, I think that's called, whip stitched this around the edge to keep it from fraying and also to attach it to the other material. Picked up on the blues there. This is like a navy lace blue button. Here have a little tiny scrap of something that was too cute to throw away, or a couple scraps of something, and a white backing, a smidge of lace, and it's done. And again, these sorts of things add a lot of color, add a lot of, sort of reinforce that homemade quality of what it is that we're doing. And I just, it just seemed like maybe for if people are just starting out, it would be good to have a few pointers, or at least hear what at least one other person, one other person's thought process when looking at these things. You know, there, if you kind of have a more formal section in some of your thrift stores, you will find bridal gowns for, you know, $10, $15, and there's a heck of a lot of lace and yardage on most of those. You will find ethnic clothing with a lot of sequins and trims and so on. And so it's just a matter of, I would say, if it's a color and a fabric that you have fallen in love with, if the price is not going to put you into the poorhouse, or you know, finally get somebody over because the hoarding is out of control, then I'd say grab it, because it's a case of, you know, it's a shopping. Thrift shopping is an activity of opportunity. So I think she who hesitates probably is going to be disappointed. So if you love it for all those reasons, can afford it, buy it, and just trust that the answer or some project ideas will come to mind. I hope that you found some value here. I hope that you tell your friends and neighbors and your viewers, your subscribers about this channel. And, you know, as a beginner, I don't want to turn this into groveling, but we do know that everybody, everyone, even the big stars, you know, the people with multiple thousands, tens of thousands of subscribers, they all started. Everyone had a day one. Everyone had a, will I ever get more than 5 subscribers? Those kinds of fears and those kinds of doubts. So, you know, it's really word of mouth, and it is, I guess, choosing to give somebody new a leg up and the opportunity and the encouragement to keep doing this. Because frankly, it is a little bit of work and so on to do this. And if I just end up talking to myself week after week after week, you know, I can skip the taping process and just talk to myself. So that said, again, I will see you again very soon. In the meantime, stay well and keep crafting. Thanks.